So I was wondering why everybody keeps saying that the Xbox Series X and a PS5 should have a 60 FPS standard. I always kind of thought that the box and the fine print was clear, that the game was going to support 4K 120 FPS based on software that could actually support those capabilities. Apparently, there's a tweet out there by Aaron Greenberg that a lot of people have been citing. I was reading a tweet here. Somebody got mad. They said they weren't going to buy an Xbox console again. They're going to build a PC and buy the next PlayStation console. Good for you, man. Your money, do what you want. And somebody said this, and they put the picture of this particular response that Aaron Greenberg actually responded to Nick 101 Gaming as of May 2020. The tweet says 60 FPS will be the standard output, but the architecture allows us to support up to 120 FPS, which is true for some games. Not every game is going to be able to reach 60 FPS or 120 FPS on that machine. The reason we know that is because there are games on equivalent PCs of this machine that don't hit 60 FPS, and it varies across the board. But actually, there is more to the story, because if you go to that tweet itself, you'll realize that Aaron Greenberg basically finishes up with a response when he was further pressed and said, developers always have flexibility in how they use the power, so a standard or common 60 FPS is not a mandate. So apparently, there is actually more to the story. So one of the really interesting things that I've been seeing a lot of people say is, oh, but this is what they actually said would be the standard. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you all that the marketing teams at Xbox and PlayStation, I've been telling you that they're very brilliant people. Messaging is very powerful. Messaging can make people buy something that they probably don't necessarily look into. Messaging drove a lot of people all the way across the borders of their home states to go find a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X in a neighboring city or neighboring state. People ran all over the place. Scalpers built bots to be able to take all these consoles and try to sell them for way more money than they were actually, in my mind, from a hardware perspective, worth. Fight me in the comment section on that note. Someone said, in all honesty, you should have put standards on the optimized for Series X label. If they can't meet the standard, they don't deserve the label. Wow. Another armchair developer who's here on Twitter. Anyway, well, this person is followed by Phil Spencer? Really? Man. All right. He says, that is exactly right. The label's meaningless if it doesn't mean a set standard. Well, somebody was saying, people are responding and replying to this line of conversation. But the line of conversation is not my, purview, but the context within which the conversation actually had to ensue. So even though the marketing VP said that, it will be a somewhat supposed standard of 60 FPS with flexibility, it then means that all bets are off. So if a game like this Starfield is running at 30 FPS, you can hold the VP of marketing to all of his tweets, basically saying that it's common, but not a mandate. Yo, you gotta read between the lines. Wake up from the matrix, ladies and gentlemen. When you're ready to upgrade your next console, build a PC. By that point, and I'm saying this from past experiences of how I built my first set of PCs, a lot of these components that are expensive today will be cheap then, and they will still beat the console that they're going to bring out then. I know this because already the consoles can never match a 3090. They can never match a 4080, and those 4080s and 3090s, they should be in your window of view. Give it a few years. They're going to be old hardware. And a lot of games in development right now are being targeted for those hardware. You got to kind of think about it. If they announce the game today, they're making sure that those games are able to run on the 3090, the 4080, the 4090, the 4070, the 3070, the 3080. So these hardware capabilities are the target. By the time those games come out, the hardware market would have shifted 5, 6, 7 years ahead in regard to how new and what they're capable of. And so at the point that people are upgrading their hardware, you can sit downstream and leverage the really, really interesting price points and build yourself a solid machine that can actually do some interesting work, because that's how gamers actually do it. That's how people get the job done. And if you live here in the West, you even have much more of the opportunity to do it. Now, people who live in, say, some other countries where they don't have access to, good, or fair custom rules. Like if you live in some Eastern countries, you may be able to buy these GPUs for cheap, but when you import them to those countries, they charge you a crazy tax that is almost insane. Like I've heard some of the numbers. I don't want to mention any country, but y'all know yourselves. I have friends who talk to me here on the internet and people who are actually living in these countries, and they'll tell you it's impossible to buy those components at fair prices, even when you try to import them. But those in the West here, you're not obliged to go buy the next console, and it's your choice. But I'm saying that based on my recommendation, that you might want to probably break away from these marketing nuances that are put out here and be able to get yourself something that would actually serve you and give you the very best performance, even though the game may be as ambitious as heck, so that this confusion does not continue to make its way on the internet. See, these things, they spread very fast, but not a lot of people come back to actually look at the context of what's going on. In fact, I haven't even looked at the original tweet and what the conversation that ensued was. So, in fact, the tweet here has been deleted by the author. I guess it's maybe it was him, but it says, please force devs to give us a choice of either high performance or higher image quality. We need 60 FPS back in consoles. And he was just saying it allows us to support the 60 FPS, but he still went ahead. So if you go back to the rest of the consoles, and people are still saying this aged horribly. Nothing aged horribly. You just didn't read, son. If you had read the fine print, the fine print, the one that I've been telling everybody of. Let me show y'all. Come on now. Let me show y'all the fine print. See, let me show you. Let me see if I can pull it up here. There we go. Here's the fine print. What does it say? Go dig under your your bed or your garage or whatever it is. I put mine under the bed. My box from my PS5 and the box from my Series X is under the bed. It says for software that supports it. I'm gonna keep beating this drum. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get it. I'm gonna wake a bunch of people up, and that's my goal here, because I think that when you look at it from a scientific perspective and you kind of remove the marketing from it, game development really does function and has always been built with very similar parameters. And over time, as standards have been changing in hardware, software has not been necessarily capable to keep up because there are so many different areas. Like the compression systems that are used to generate textures and to generate assets, they've not necessarily been able to go ahead and basically shrink down a lot of their file sizes. They've just been enjoying the fact that we're able to now render them. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, I don't know many of you who really were doing computer file management back in the day, you notice that for you to have a picture that was like, 1 megabyte was a big picture. Like a 1 megabyte picture on your phone was like, oh my word, like bro. But now you take a picture, it's a freaking HVEC file it's a video file on the iPhones for a picture. And now we're just enjoying all of that. But can we go back to a time, or can we get to the point where software can do a lot more compression as you're generating your assets? This is, in my opinion, going to eventually revolutionize gaming overall, to still give you good visual quality in a sense, and then at the same time provide you with the way your asset can be streamlined to be able to run on your gaming, setup, and even to run within the context of your full game, and still give the player all of those things like good visual quality and good performance overall. So we're going to need something like that. We're also going to need new engines that are written on very, very different platforms, like powerful programming languages that can actually compete with C++ and still be able to run faster. We don't really have many programming languages that are standardized across the industry right now that can do the job. So many people, when they learn game development in terms of gameplay programming, a lot of them are learning engine, or they're learning C++, because many very, very viable game engines use C++. Example is Unreal Engine and Snowdrop. So if you're going into the Ubisoft pipeline, if you want to be a game developer, C++ is a very strong language for you to learn if you really want to be a gameplay developer or a gameplay programmer. If you're going to a studio and you want to self-teach, or at least you want to be able to build a portfolio of maybe, say, demos and prototypes, C++ is what Unreal Engine 4 uses. It's free. If you want to use Unity, you can learn C#. But again, you're pigeonholing yourself, because if you then get hired by a studio, you may need to quickly adapt and learn C++. So maybe learn them all depending on how versatile you want to be. So it's very interesting nonetheless to kind of see these conversations go on. And I guess I can make a separate video for solutions and for industry changes that will probably continue to do, that will continue to revolutionize the industry. Maybe that's a whole separate video, but I thought I'd make this video because we needed to get down to the bottom of this. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you all so much. Peace out.